So sometimes these videos can be daunting and difficult to make. It's one of the reasons why I haven't made a video in a while. It just seems forever to set up a video, set up the shot, the camera, whatever, and to do the task at hand, and then reset up a different angle, and then do the task, and it just takes me like 3 times longer to make anything setting up a video that way than it does if I would just come in the shop and work. So with the Christmas time, and since I had quite a bit of orders this year, for me I had quite a bit of orders, so others didn't, but for me I had quite a bit of orders this year. I wanted to get done. I concentrated on just pumping out some knives and getting them completed. So I came in here to make a video on my angle grinder. If you saw that video, my last angle grinder blew up in smoke basically. It locked up on me, so I put a new angle grinder in there, and I was going to show the process of going through the cutting wheel and then the grinding wheel to cut out a blade. I got about looks like 30 seconds worth of the cutting out with the cutoff wheel, and the batteries went dead. I changed the batteries out, hit the play button again, switched over to the grinding disc, continued to grind, and some point about 15 seconds in, memory card was full. So I didn't get that on film at all either, so a little upset about that. But this is the knife that I'm working on. This is a commonly called a Nessmuk style design knife, and as you can see, it's already been roughed out. And so I thought we'd just start from here and start with a roughed out blank and show you what the process is next. So this pattern I have on this blade is actually from my CAD drawing. All my knives are designed on CAD, and then I print it out on cardstock, and it gives it 2 things. It gives me the feel of the design in my hand, and that way I can make changes if I need to make the choil area bigger, or this area needs to come down a little bit more, whatever that may need to be done on cardstock, and that takes me so far. And then also it gives me a pattern, and I take this pattern, I cut it out, I glue it on using super glue. I glue it onto the metal itself, and there's my pattern that I use to cut out the blade. I use the angle grinder obviously to get it close to this pattern. It's about a 1/16 or so away from the pattern all around, and you can see that, especially back here in the handle area. You can see how, sorry, I got a crappy camera. You can see how the metal isn't quite to that paper. And another thing from using the angle grinder is that it creates a huge burr on the back side of the metal from the grinding wheel coming around down. It creates a burr on the back side. So the next step for me to do, and with this build, is to remove remove this nasty burr on this back side. So let me set up the camera and I'll show you about how we do that. Alright, may not be the best angle for showing purposes, but it's kind of tight, cramped. So anyway, I have this burr on the back side, and I like to remove it. And normally I would like to put it on the belt sander. Belt sander runs, and you hold it down. I like my fingers. I like my fingertips. And you always have the risk of the blade sliding off, or you always have the risk of the blade coming off and hit your fingers, or just the blade heating up itself will hurt your fingers and cause damage. Obviously you don't like to wear a glove, get caught. Anyway, so I come up with yet another jig, a CGS jig, and what this is just a block of wood, it's a 2x4 with 2 magnets in it, and this is one of those big neodymium or whatever you call it magnets, and it holds my blade. So turn the sander on, put the blade down there, remove the burr, pick it back up, take it off with the gloved hand, dunk it, put it back on if need be. There you go, burr is gone. Alright, so I got that flat on that back side, that way I could set it flat on my work table of the 2x42 so that I can get it exact to this line. That also will give me a parallel or a perpendicular angle, so I know that this is straight to this plane as well. So I go around and doing all that, getting as close as I can to this pattern shape itself. So I'm going to do that now. I'm not sure how well that came up on video, so I'll discuss on what you just saw there. What I was doing was using the grinder to get close to the pattern. Obviously that's a given. But what I'm doing is I'm looking at the grind lines come across, and if there is a divot or if there's a spot where the grind lines aren't the same, then that means that I haven't removed the marks left from the angle grinder from there. So I'm trying to get all these even across as I'm moving there. Now obviously I don't worry too much about the finger twirl area right this time because it's difficult to do on the 2x42. I use a Dremel tool to get that nice and smooth and even throughout there, so I don't worry about that. Again, I try to get the flat area as flat as possible on the 2x42, but then I take it over to the 4x36 and make sure this area here is completely flat before I do any edge grinding on this knife at all. So there's a knife with a pattern. My next step is to go through and use these center marks and punch the holes for these center marks. So it's going to have bolsters on the front here. Originally I was going to have them in the back as well, but I think I'm going to omit that and just have the front bolsters, 2 1/8" stainless steel pins, and these bigger holes are just to remove metal to help it balance out. And then I'm going to have a 1/4" lanyard thong tube on here. I'm not quite sure what kind of materials yet. I'd always determine that later. But I do have one of the bolsters roughed out. Here it is. This is just roughed out. It's still not to size. I need to get the blade done first before I go ahead and go through with that. But I got the back sanded pretty smooth, and I got the front sanded smooth. Just need to get it to size. You see I'm a little bit big still, which is not a problem. I need to be. So the next step after getting the edges done is to hole punch, center punch. I mean the holes. I wish hole punch was that easy. So I have a little miniature railroad spike that I got from my dad, and I use that to set my metal upon. This is a spring-loaded punch. That's what I use to get accuracy. So I line that up, push down, and it self-punches. Then I go back with a regular punch and really drive them in. Just a light tap. Now all the holes are punched, so the pattern I have on here is no longer needed. So now the next step is to take the pattern off. Sometimes it comes right off, Other times it has to be pried off, scraped off. I found that super glue works best for keeping the pattern on, as long as I don't get the blade too hot. It doesn't seem to be a problem at all. I used to use a marker and found that the marker would wear off because of the dunking in water and heating up process. After a while I wouldn't be able to see it. I know some guys use layout dye and whatnot, but this is the method that I use. So what do you do with the knives that you mess up on? Here's a knife that I messed up on, and it is now a shop knife. So, even though it's not deemed worthy enough for customers, you can still use it in your shop. Alright, so I just about got all the pattern off there. So, now it's time to flat sand it, and there'll be a blade blink. Alright guys, I want to thank you for watching this video. Thanks for all the emails that you guys sent. Obviously I have a lot more to do on this knife, and I'll make videos in the future when I get down to it. I have some knife blades coming back, some ironclads should be in the mail tomorrow, and I'll hold off on this knife project in order to get those done, because those are guys that are waiting for those. But continue to send me your emails. If there's something that was gone over in this video or any past videos that you'd like to see more information on, either with the video or just through email conversations, feel free to email me, or send me a PM or a comment or what have you. But I appreciate you guys watching the video.